And thanks everyone for coming out, which kind of supports the Austrian idea of the subjective theory of value, which means that you valued coming to this debate more than doing anything else tonight. So I thank everyone for coming out. Well, as Donna said, we're here tonight to discuss whether or not government is necessary. Well, just supporting the idea or stating that it is necessary, then you make the assumption that the so-called services provided by the government can only be provided by a coercive monopoly backed by the use of force. And as you probably know and probably have heard already, my partner and I have concluded that not only is government not necessary, but it is inherently coercive, and that coerciveness makes it evil. And furthermore, the very idea of government is a contradiction, because you cannot claim to provide freedom, equality, etc., as proponents of government do, while simultaneously violating these principles in order to fund and maintain the government. And that's in the form of taxes and regulations. Acknowledging this contradiction should lead to accepting a consistent and non-contradictory political philosophy with the premise of freedom in the only place that it can be, and that's residing in the individual. And by residing in the individual, I mean the natural law principle of personal sovereignty. In other words, self-ownership, which is the natural right of every individual to be the exclusive controller of his or own body and life, which includes its use, and in that form, use you could define as labor. And that is provided that they do not violate the sovereignty of others. To not advocate self-ownership is to advocate the only other possibility, and that's slavery. And slavery can be it can be slavery to the state, it could be slavery to other individuals, or slavery to a society. But in the end, it's still slavery, and slavery is slavery. And any claim to the rights of another individual is slavery. So in the most profound sense, the debate we are having tonight is between coercion and choice. Yet having a debate in the first place presupposes choice, doesn't it? The opposing philosophy basically wants the freedom to declare that you and I should have no freedom, or freedom only according to the plans of social democracy. One of the most important segments of self-ownership is not to initiate force or the threat of force against others, which includes both their persons and property, because as stated, individuals own the use of their bodies, therefore they own their labor and all gains from their labor as contracted. Due to the voluntary exchange of their labor for some other good or service, which nowadays is most likely to be the medium of exchange, or money, and furthermore, if they use this gain from the voluntary exchange and compensation of their labor to obtain further goods such as land, a house, a car, etc., not only are they fully entitled to the whole sum of their initial gain, but also they are entitled to 100% ownership of the property they acquired in voluntary trade. And the principle of not initiating force is the non-aggression principle, which is the foundation for both a just society and the abolition of government. This consistent and non-contradictory philosophy of individual sovereignty, of self-ownership, personal property rights, in support of the non-aggression principle that I've been talking about, is known as anarchy. And as Donna stated, it's just from the Greek that means without rulers. It doesn't mean chaos. Chaos is from the Greek for chaos, not anarchy. And because of the common mixed meaning of the term anarchy, it is sometimes instead called voluntaryism, which again stands in contrast to evasive and coercive action against non-aggressive and natural right-respecting individuals. Murray Rothbard, in A Society Without a State, defined an anarchist society as one where there is no legal possibility for coercive aggression against the person or property of an individual. Roderick Long, professor of philosophy at Auburn, states at the Molinari Institute, named for the first anarcho-capitalist Gustave de Molinari, that anarchy is the radical notion that other people are not your property. And in closing, one important thing to remember is that in an anarchist society, individuals believing in democratic socialism are free to voluntarily get together and form a democratic socialist neighborhood, provided that it is 100% voluntary, i.e., not forced upon others, that individuals can leave whenever they want, and others are not coerced into the neighborhood. Yet, this situation actually defies the espoused definition of democratic socialism. Additionally, in a purely democratic socialist society, an anarchist neighborhood, or any other for that matter, cannot exist because, as stated, democratic socialism relies on coercion and the threats of force to bring about as well as maintain its involuntary arrangement. Such a system abandons a logical understanding of property rights, and ultimately, in a democratic socialist society, individuals are not treated as ends in themselves, but rather as a means to the ends of the majority of others, meaning their opinions and central planning mentalities. Thus, people become slaves to collectivistic abstractions called society and the state, which ultimately means slaves to other individuals acting in an authoritarian sociopathic manner. Thank you.